Hello dear friends, welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna be having a look at how the mass media reacted to El Salvador now finally embracing Bitcoin as a currency. Hopefully this is the first country of many, and we're about to see a wave of more countries following in the footsteps of El Salvador. If you're new to the channel, I would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button, and this way in the future you'll be notified for more content.
Bitcoin hitting its highest levels since May, ahead of El Salvador's official adoption of Bitcoin as legal currency. That starts today. The move makes it the first country in the world to officially put Bitcoin on its balance sheet and hold it in reserves. Here to break down this test case, essentially, with us is CNBC's Mackenzie Sigalos. Mackenzie, great to have you on. I know you've been doing a lot of reporting around this, but the fact that we did see Bitcoin jump ahead of this and now it's under a little bit of pressure today, I mean, this has in many ways been kind of the bull case longer term around Bitcoin, the fact that you could actually use it to transact for everyday items, right?
Right, and I think that that's one of the major things that people are looking for today on the ground in El Salvador. You know, citizens can now, from today, technically use Bitcoin to buy virtually anything. So we're talking a cup of coffee, a haircut. They can also pay their taxes in Bitcoin. And that's why you did see this price run up in the last few weeks. Like Bitcoin's price was touching highs that it hadn't seen since May. And then yesterday, the government announced that it was adding almost $21 million worth of Bitcoin to its balance sheet. And that's where you saw this huge bump up in the price. And yes, it has come off of those highs, but I think people are watching to see how rollout goes. And we're starting to see that. You know, from midnight, I was on the phone with people who were on the ground in San Salvador, and they were actively downloading the wallet that the government has offered to all citizens. So it's been really interesting to see it all happen in real time.
I realize we're essentially only hours into this rollout, but do we know from a technical standpoint how those downloads are going right now? And I ask that given the fact that, only about a third of Salvadorans actually use the internet?
Right. And you know, that stat has been called into question just because it's referring more to these wired lines, your fiber optics, but almost everybody has a cell phone in hand, and that's really the level of connectivity that you need to be a part of this Bitcoin economy. And in terms of how successful the rollout has been so far, so, I mean, was this a flip that switched at midnight? No, it wasn't. But, you know, people were actively communicating with one another. The president was helping to troubleshoot IT issues. And so at around 2 a.m., that's when we first saw the wallet go live. And it's something called the Chivo wallet, which is Salvadoran slang for cool. And so the government is really pushing people to become a part of this economy. And the way that they're doing that is by saying that everyone who signs up for this wallet gets $30. And I mean, that's no small sum in a country where, you know, the average minimum wage is $365. And so from 2 a.m., it hasn't been a totally smooth rollout, but we have seen successful downloads. We have seen people receiving that $30 into their wallet.
Mackenzie, from people who are, you know, intently watching this from the kind of Bitcoin camp, let's say, the people who really believe in it, what would represent success, either in terms of volume of transactions or, you know, just the adoption or displacement of other types of payments? What are our benchmark indicators?
I mean, you said a few of them there. I mean, I think mainstream adoption. I think that one side of this, you know, going beyond using Bitcoin as a currency, as a form of, you know, exchanging value, people see it as a way to help Salvadorans save money. And, you know, it's a largely unbanked population. And so this gives them a way to build this culture around saving money. And I think that that's one thing that a lot of crypto insiders have, well, Bitcoin insiders, because this is really a Bitcoin project. And what Bitcoin insiders have spoken to me about is that they're excited about moving people from this government wallet, which is custodial, to their own wallet where they hold the private key and they have 100% ownership over their wealth. And that's, you know, that's something that a lot of these people haven't experienced before. And I think that that's what they're most excited about.
Mackenzie, El Salvador has been looked at as a test case for a while. Are people talking about which country might be next?
You know, Panama was watching, but I think that a lot of countries are keeping an eye on how things play out in El Salvador. And, not everybody is happy about it. The IMF and the World Bank have expressed concerns about what this rollout means. So I think that there are a lot of people on either side. There are a lot of big supporters, but, you have a large portion of the population that also is confused about what this Bitcoin rollout means. They're inherently skeptical. So there are quite a few barriers to entry. So it'll be very telling how this plays out in the next few weeks, in the next few months, as we get a better sense of what mainstream adoption really looks like.
Bitcoin is on a bit of a wild ride today as it faces the biggest test yet. El Salvador is the first country to adopt it as legal tender. The country bought 400 Bitcoins ahead of the rollout, worth about $20 million. El Salvador's president tweeted he's, buying the dip, and the government purchased another 150 coins. With me now is Bloomberg's Michael McDonald, also Bloomberg Intelligence's Mike McGlone. Mike and Mike, thanks so much for joining us today. Mike McGlone, I want to start with you. Why might the El Salvador debut be a signal to sell for Bitcoin owners? Why are we seeing the decline this afternoon?
Well, hi, Tim. I think it's a bit of the speculative excess being wrung out of the system. Remember when Coinbase went public? Very similar. People bought into it, poof, and then it went down a little bit. I think that's what's happening today. The significance is Bitcoin is really the best performer in the space. Ethereum is down over 15%. Cardano is down about 15%. They were the rocket fuel ones. Bitcoin's only down 8% or so. I mean, it's not good, but compared to the other ones, so what I'm seeing is speculative excess is coming out, means we'll probably stabilize and recover.
Why do you see the other cryptocurrencies, Mike McGlone, taking a hit as well if Bitcoin is the center of focus, at least for El Salvador?
Nothing like, people buying things on leverage and getting a little bit enthusiastically long and, doing it for a more tactical basis versus a more strategic basis. I think that's what's happening. We're seeing the tactical traders getting stopped out. We've seen it before. It usually creates more of a foundation. So Ethereum bottomed around 3,000. It was around 4,000 right before. That's a pretty big move. But I think the market's going to come find a good, stable foundation and go back to what it's been doing all year, basically appreciating with a little bit of nuances like we were having today.
Hey, Michael McDonald, come on in here and talk to us a little bit about what's actually happening in El Salvador. Now people can go to one of 200 ATMs there, and actually these are Bitcoin ATMs, but they actually get dollars from those ATMs. So take us through what exactly is happening in the country as it adopts it as an official currency.
Sure, yeah. As of this morning, El Salvadorians who have a government-issued ID, they can download the government's Chivo wallet, which is a Bitcoin digital wallet, and they get $30 worth of Bitcoin in it to use. The rollout has gone a little bit rocky this morning.
Yeah.
We've seen some downloading the Chivo wallet. The government took it offline for a few hours. They're reportedly tweaking some things and trying to make it available for download again later today. A couple weeks ago, they did install these Chivo ATMs around the country, and they can be used. They look like just a regular ATM, and they have a stand next to them with somebody there with an attendant who can help you. And you go to this ATM, and if you have Bitcoins in your Chivo wallet, you can withdraw them in dollars from these ATMs. There are about 200 of them around the country. But again, we haven't seen a lot of people using them this morning. There have been some reports on the ground of people paying at some large chains with Bitcoin. There have been some tweets about people buying breakfast at McDonald's with Bitcoins, but we haven't seen a widespread sort of use of this yet, and there have been some issues with the rollout of the digital Chivo wallet.
We're going to get to the drivers now for you, though. In a remarkable move, El Salvador has just become the first country in the world to accept Bitcoin as legal tender. It says the move will give people greater access to banks and their finances, but not everyone is convinced. Rafael Romo is with us. An extraordinary move, Rafael.
Indeed, Max, the government of El Salvador has invested $203 million in infrastructure to install ATMs that will be available around the country where people will be able to exchange Bitcoin for dollars and the other way around. The Salvadorian National Assembly has also created a fund of $150 million so that there's money readily available if people want to exchange their Bitcoin. And even though the law went into effect today, the reality is that there's a small coastal village in El Salvador that has been using Bitcoin for several years. On the southwestern coast of El Salvador,
El Zonte is kind of a sleepy beach town.
Lies a rocky beach that has been attracting surfers from around the world for decades. It's not the kind of place where you would find luxury resorts. But the coastal village of about 3,000 has begun a small financial revolution that has the potential of reshaping the world economy. For the last several years, an increasing number of people at El Zonte have been using Bitcoin as their main currency for daily transactions.
You can pay your car insurance or your school tuition, and they can pay in Bitcoin.
Michael Peterson is an American who has been living in El Zonte for 8 years. Peterson first traveled here as a surfer in 2004. Now he's the director of Bitcoin Beach, a locally led initiative supported by a U.S.-based nonprofit organization. Peterson says the initiative has a dual purpose: developing the community and promoting Bitcoin.
This isn't a business for me. It's just something that loses money for me. Now I have a business in the U.S. that supports my needs, but I just have a love for the community here and a real belief that Bitcoin can really impact the life of those that are unbanked and those that are at the bottom rungs of the economic ladder.
Peterson is not the only one who's betting that Bitcoin will alleviate El Salvador's endemic poverty. Nayib Bukele, the millennial president of El Salvador, successfully advocated for a law making his country the first to adopt the cryptocurrency as legal tender. Venezuela launched a cryptocurrency 3 years ago called Petro that was backed by the country's reserves and natural resources.
The case of El Salvador is unique in that it's the first country to make Bitcoin legal tender. Here in Mexico, for example, the country's central bank issued a warning over the summer saying cryptocurrencies pose inherent risks and that dealing with them is not legal under current law. This means that banks are not allowed to trade or offer any transactions with them.
Some small business owners in El Salvador, like this baker who makes a living selling sandwiches on the street, say they like Bitcoin because it gives them an alternative to make money. It truly isn't difficult to deal in Bitcoin at all, he says.
Not far from there, this owner of a tortilla shop says she prefers cold, hard cash.
It's something new and we don't have enough information about it, she says. She's not alone. Hundreds of Salvadorians recently took to the streets to send an unequivocal message about cryptocurrencies. They're trying to change the whole country into a casino where those who can afford it, like the Bukele family, can get in and play, he said. El Salvador is not a casino. Back in El Zonte, Peterson says people shouldn't see Bitcoin as a threat, but an opportunity.
I think they get it backwards. This is what Bitcoin actually fixes. Bitcoin will bring these opportunities to young people so they don't feel like they have to go to the United States in order to feed their family. They can develop a successful business here. This deters people from entering the gangs because a big reason people enter the gangs is because they feel like there isn't other opportunities for them.
He warns, though, that adopting Bitcoin doesn't mean that El Salvador's problems like poverty and gang violence are going to disappear overnight. But he hopes it will empower those at the bottom of the economic ladder in the smallest country in Central America.
And Max, as part of this launch, the government plans to install as many as 200 ATMs around the country to exchange Bitcoin for dollars and vice versa. This morning, President Bukele informed they had to temporarily disconnect the app to exchange Bitcoin for dollars due to what he described as a relatively simple problem. The government of El Salvador acquired 400 Bitcoins, equivalent to just over $20 million. Max, back to you.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Thank you so much, Rafael. Keep across that one, see how it works out.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this content, I would once again recommend to subscribe to my channel for more future details about cryptocurrencies. Have a wonderful day.